Right now, the province of BC, the Premier of BC, is not a threat to the pipeline project of the Premier of Alberta because there is no pipeline project.
Well, I can tell you that Albertans are questioning whether Canada works, and I'm not telling anything you don't know. There's a very active group that thinks Canada's broken. And so I suppose I could just go down to the United States and start working with American counterparts to see if we can build more pipelines. They've expressed an interest in restarting the Keystone XL.
So, Premier, why not just pick up the phone and call Washington? Why waste your time making the case for Alberta energy to a country that has never appreciated it? This is where things get very interesting. You see, Alberta is speaking in no uncertain terms at this point. This country, that is Canada, either works or it doesn't. And if British Columbia is going to attack Albertans and our industries for wanting access to market, then what's the point in being a part of this country? Alberta should just look south at a neighbor who's actually wanting to work with us for a change. Hey everybody, it's PJ. Welcome back to the channel. I appreciate you being here. Looks like Canada has gone back to its old ways of blocking and undermining any efforts for Alberta to develop our energy resources. In a country that desperately needs a win, the attacks are now coming from the woke Premier of British Columbia, David Eby, who's decided that Alberta doesn't get to access his coast to export the oil and gas, all in the name of the climate scam green agenda. We'll be covering this and Alberta's reaction to it all in today's report. But before we start, do me a favor, hit the like and subscribe button if you support these videos. Thank you, and let's get back to the report.
A significant piece of the BC economy, a significant aspect of the social license we have to deliver major projects like that and projects that are coming is the support of communities up and down our amazing coast here in British Columbia. And so if you want to put that goodwill at risk, if you want to threaten these projects and say, you know, we know that your goodwill and your support is dependent on a tanker ban, that the fishing grounds that you count on, the tourism you count on, the lifestyle that you enjoy as a coastal community member, that it's protected by the tanker ban. If we want to say we're going to get rid of that tanker ban and we're going to go after your way of life, let's at least make sure that the conversation is about a real project. Right now, the province of BC, the Premier of BC, is not a threat to the pipeline project of the Premier of Alberta because there is no pipeline project. There is a public relations department. There is a Crown Corporation with $14 million. The only way currently that project is going forward is with tens of billions of dollars of public money. And if this is in fact another multi-billion-dollar federally funded Alberta project, then where is the multi-billion-dollar federally funded project in British Columbia?
The irony in this whole thing is that this guy is trying to frame his argument around blaming Alberta for the Liberal government having to fund the Trans Mountain pipeline, which was finally completed, I believe, last year. What it doesn't understand or is willfully ignoring is that the feds had to jump in and fund this project because their destructive anti-energy policies made it nearly impossible for the private sector to move ahead with the construction of the pipeline. Liberal Prime Minister Justin Trudeau created an environment that was so hostile to energy development that the original private sector proponent pulled out of the project altogether, and the feds ended up having to buy it from them. And now a pipeline that was only supposed to cost around $5.5 billion ended up costing around $34 billion. Let that sink in for a minute. Can you imagine the level of corruption that had to have taken place for the cost to balloon to such a ridiculously high amount? But of course, David Eby knows this, but he will lie to his people like the professional politician that he is. What he fails to realize is that Albertans have zero patience for people playing games, whether in Ottawa or Vancouver.
Well, I can tell you that Albertans are questioning whether Canada works, and I'm not telling anything you don't know. There's a very active group that thinks Canada is broken. And so I suppose I could just go down to the United States and start working with American counterparts to see if we can build more pipelines. They've expressed an interest in restarting the Keystone XL. And I suppose we could maybe sell another 1 million or 2 million barrels a day additional to the United States. But I believed the premiers and I believed the Prime Minister when they said they wanted us to work like a country, that they wanted us to open new markets. And that's what I'm doing. In goodwill, I am going and building the case. That's why I was in Quebec. It's why I'm in Toronto tomorrow. It's why I'm in Ottawa. And if it doesn't work, then I guess I'll have to work with the United States.
When you invoke the separatist sentiment, though, are you threatening in the eventuality, or the possibility rather, that this is a no, that you will throw support behind that endeavor? Like, what is it exactly that will happen if you deem Canada to be broken?
We have a $6.5 billion deficit. The federal government has a $100 billion deficit. You don't eliminate that by printing money out of thin air. You eliminate that by investing in projects that build wealth. And the kind of things that build wealth are pipelines to markets that want them. If we build a 1 million barrel a day pipeline to the BC coast, that's another $20 billion a year in GDP, 40% of which goes to governments, half to the federal government and half to the provincial government. Why would we settle? Why would we settle with running nothing but deficits? Why would we settle with the problems that we have at the federal level that even the PBO is warning about is getting very dire?
Premier, say it. Just say it. Canada is broken. And it's become increasingly obvious that this is the case. When you have 1 or 2 regions of your country actively trying to block the development of another, or when you have the same regions happily taking the wealth generated from this other area, you don't have a functioning country. You have managed colonies controlled by incentives or obstruction. You incentivize one at the cost of hindering another. The sooner you realize that these people do not view Alberta as an equal part of Canada, and that the whole BS about Team Canada only applies to a small, favored group, the sooner you'll begin moving us towards independence from the sinking ship that is today's Canada. The fact that the Premier knows it would be much easier for Alberta to build a pipeline into the United States via the state of Montana than it will ever be to build one to either the west coast or the east coast of Canada, or even the north coast, tells you everything you need to know about the current situation Alberta faces within Canada. So, Premier, why not just pick up the phone and call Washington? Why waste your time making the case for Alberta energy to a country that has never appreciated it? And they'll continue to reject your efforts, unless the point is to get rejected. So Albertans who still believe Canada is salvageable finally face reality. I've said it before and I'll say it again. This lady might be playing a very strategic game where she's showing Albertans in a very public way just how broken Canada is, and that we're better off becoming independent and going it alone. There are plenty of reasons for independence, but trust Canadian politicians to continue to provide us with even more reasons. Watch.
To put that tanker ban at threat, it's not just a threat to our pristine coast that so many British Columbians, including myself, value, but it is a direct economic threat to the kind of economy that we're trying to build in the country here. And so when I've said, let's cross that bridge when we come to it, we'll see what the Premier comes up with, I'm being polite. I am being polite. There is no project. There is no bridge to cross unless the Albertan government and the federal Canadian government are committing billions of taxpayer dollars to build this project. And if that is the plan, then they should be transparent about it. Don't mistake my politeness for weakness on protecting our economy and our coast.
He's being polite, he says, as he publicly shows his hostility and obvious contempt for Albertans. I can only imagine what he says about Alberta when he ain't being polite. Imagine this for a minute, for those of you south of the border. Imagine that Arkansas or Oklahoma want to export their resources and Texas or Mississippi say, no, you're not going to have access to our coast. This is our coast. You don't get to put a pipeline to here. That'd be crazy. And it doesn't happen. Why? Because the United States is a functioning country. That's why. At the end of the day, Americans realize that it's all the USA, whether from Texas, Montana, Oklahoma, or the Midwest. It's all American. So why would they want to block development in their own country? And plus, the federal government would settle it very quickly because their constitution actually works. So this is where Alberta finds itself today, fighting the country it is supposed to be a part of for access to one of the coasts. Unfreaking believable. Hey, if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to be notified every time a new video is published, hit the subscribe button and activate the notifications bell. It's completely free and it helps our channel grow. A heartfelt thank you to all our channel members. I really appreciate your support. See you all in the next one. Peace.